Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all of you. This is our third webinar in this space where we are looking at ICF coaching for the Agile coaches and why it is so important for ICF certification for Agile coaches and what it can bring it to them. We will go about what is Agile coach and what is the real reason that ICF and Agile marriage happens forever. Now, if you look at Agile coaching, the Agile Coach Institute has defined an Agile coaching competency framework. If you look at the competency framework, on the top of the dotted line, horizontal line, you see there is a teaching, Agile and learning practitioners, and professional coaching. Below, you find mentoring, technical capabilities or the domain capabilities and domain knowledge, and then the facilitation. You will also notice that one side it talks about the content and the other side it talks about the process. Now, if you look at this, as an Agile coach, as per this competency model, coaches are teachers, coaches are mentors, coaches are facilitators, and coaches are our professional coaching as well. And that's where I believe the coaching for ICF coaching for Agile coaches becomes very important. And when you say individual professional coaching, it is for the individuals as well as for the teams, and that we call it as a systems. And when you facilitate a small group, 6 to 8 people, or you can facilitate the large groups. And as Agile coaches, you are supposed to develop your competencies to coach individuals as well as the teams or the systems, and also facilitate the smaller teams and also facilitate the very large groups of the people. Now, if you look at this particular model that has been already defined, but some places we find that it doesn't really work. Or what they normally do is, in the name of the Agile competencies, we predict and plan. Even the training, even the facilitation, or it is coaching or whatever, we predict and plan. So this is how I'm going to do my training. This is how I'm going to do my facilitation. This is how am I going to do my coaching, or this is how am I going to do my mentoring. And what is the challenge with the predict and the plan model? The biggest challenge is we are not living in the world which has already defined best practices. But the mindset in IT industries and the mindset of the people who have worked in very long enough in IT industry that we look at for the best practices. And there is nothing called as best practices. The best practices will become obsolete over the period of time. So there is an evolution which is taking place. So to make the difference in the complex world where everything is changing and nothing is constant, we feel that sense and respond model. You need to sense what the system is all about, what the people are all about, and which environment we are working. You have to make the sense. And from that sense making, you need to start responding. And that's the agility is all about. Agility is not about the predicting and the planning. It is about the sensing and the responding. But if you look at the coaching model, which has been defined with a good cause to use the sense and response model, we go back to our old mindset, predict and plan. So now the question is, how can you develop the sense and response model for your work in the complex world? And here is another thing before we get into that is required to talk about. Why do we talk about the predict and the plan? Because we think that it is an integrated model. We integrate. And what is that you integrate? If I'm doing some training, I need to balance with my coaching. If I do some facilitation, then I need to do some kind of a mentoring, right? So you're creating the balancing, equilibrium, harmony of all the different competencies as a coach you are going to work. Very interesting. But why are you doing this? You are doing it because you're trying to minimize the tension, reduce the chaos. That's what you think, that if I integrate all of them together, you'll be able to manage the complexities. You'll be manage the tension. But really, doesn't happen like this. You need to start looking at a holistic approach, and that is called the integral method. where every single thing is integrated. Nothing is too balanced. All are integrated together because it is an emergent, healthy tensions in which we hold the things together, and that's how it evolves. For an example, as a child, you had an integral development, isn't it? Your fingers grow up, your body grow up, your intelligence grew up, your knowledge grew up, and all of that. What happened? As we grow up, we forget about integral and we start looking for the balanced approach, integrated approach. And that's how we have learned and grew up. And therefore, we have developed this mindset. Now, let me give an example of the integral method and how it is very important to create the healthy tension. If you have a child of 1.5 years to 2 years old and ask him to do 2 plus 2, how will he do that calculation? How will he do this 2 plus 2 calculation? He will write two lines, as I have learned, then another 2 lines, and then he'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'll say, yeah, happy, I've got my 4. But with the same child, when he becomes 5-year-old, if you ask him 2 plus 2, well, how will he get that answer? Will he do exactly the 2 horizontal lines or 2 vertical lines, another 2 vertical lines and get there? No. What has happened? Because his mind has grown. He has integrated, sensing that this is how it is. So the sense-making process is a continuous journey as we evolve from the childhood till our death, or this particular world itself is in a sense-making process. How do you integrate? How do you make it? How to do that integral work? There is a guy called Ken Wilber. He defined the integral method long time ago. And what he suggests is that there are individuals and there are teams in the organizations which we have. At the same time, we all, whether you like it or not like, we have some subjective views about the life, about the system, about the world. Similarly, we also have some objective views. We also look for the results. So if you look at the integral approach, there are 4 dimensions that we look at, and that can be multiplied with multiple levels of the dimensions in each one of these quadrants which we are talking about. The first quadrant is called I. That is individual with the subjective views or relationships. That means what? It means their belief, their attitude, their mindset, their cognitive capacities, and their well-being. That's called the I sense of it. I sense of the world. Now, this individual also looks for some results, look for some kind of work when it goes out, right? What he does differently. In this place, it is called it. That is his skills. The individual, when he goes outside, exterior, he plays something. That's called his behavior. When he is seen by the others, how he is accountable, how he is making the decisions, how he is applying his experiences. This is all seen by the others, and that's called his objective views. What is that result he is producing? Going forward, now if you look at the bottom quadrants, when you look at, there's a team and there is a system of the objectives. That's called the ITS. That is, what is the strategy that organizations are going to have? What are the structures they are going to put into place? What are the market involvement? What are the technologies? And that is your system's goals, the strategies and the goals management part of it. At the end of it, as an individual, when it becomes collective, it is called the culture. And the culture is all about we together, right? Collective, when we come together. What is the meaning of the collective? What is the meaning of the collective? We all, when we work together in the part of any systems or organizations, the collectives are having the trust. For example, me and Subash, we work. And the others in our company called Regal Unlimited. How we trust each other, how we build the culture of the trust, how we are engaging with others, what are the dynamics that is getting played, and what is the collective belief as a Regal Unlimited we have about the work, about the processes, about the people. And that's the cultural part of it. Now, when we do this coaching, and when you look at that method, we have never ever looked at the integral way of doing the coaching in the agile world, which is always evolving, always moving towards the next set of evolutions. We are always looking for the plan to predict versus sense to respond. And the integral method is the method that gives you the idea how to sense and respond. Now the question comes, and this question to any one of you who are there in the panel, any one of you are there in the audience. If you have to do the coaching and whatever competencies map to, and if you have to put together the quadrant of this, where do you think the professional coaching is going to lie? Karan, if you are available, you can talk about. So where do you think the professional coaching will be done in these quadrants?
Well, in my limited understanding, professional coaching will definitely come at the center. I think it would, it's an amalgamation of the individual as an I, right? It's obviously talks about those beliefs and attitudes and all. It can also be escalated and become we, because we have heard of team coaching, group coaching, right? And in the coaching, according to me, it can also be used to increase the performance, the skills, the behaviors, the accountability part of it. So the it part of it, right? Those softer aspects, right? And obviously, coaching can also be a tool to get a competitive edge, improve strategy, improve structures, right? In the organization. So I feel it's an amalgamation of all. Coaching is ever encompassing all these four quadrants is what my take is.
Okay, so I'm not going to invite the further discussion onto that. I'm also trying to hurry, right? And that's where our understanding is, right? Most of us. What happened when you do the coaching for the skills and the behavior and the accountability and the decision making or applying your experiences? It's not really the coaching. What you are doing there is something else. When you are doing the strategy, structure, processes, market environment, technologies, and all of that, it's not really the coaching. It's all about something else, and we'll talk about it. When you are building the togetherness, yes, there is a space for doing this, the trust, engagement, and all. So there is a model to doing that. But before I go further, let me ask this question to Subash as well, because he's part of me. Subash, I believe that the I part is the real good part for the coaching, isn't it? In my mind, that's where the whole coaching, the ICF competencies comes into the play. In my mind, I believe.
Yes, definitely, because I think however successful or credentialed or accomplished, that's the word I was looking for. However accomplished the coaches, the work is still with the I. It's about my belief, my attitude, my mindfulness, cognitive capacity, well-being. So, how much ever I evolve as a coach, it still remains with the I. And from that space, if the coach looks at the potential of the client, that becomes a deeper I.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Subash. And it's so thrilling for me, right? That's where professional coaching is coming. The ICF coaches, or the competency, that beautiful competency is arts and the science of the ICF coaching. Competency is about creating the inner awareness of the individual or the team. Right, Subash?
Absolutely. So, at the core of, I think it's a great point. I mean, just to anchor it, I'll repeat, the outcome has to be about a new awareness, deeper awareness. Yes, awareness is a key word.
So that's where the professional coaching comes into. Now, when you do the coach, in the name of the coaching, we do behavioral coaching, but that's not the coaching actually. We do, so we're trying to fix the accountability, so we're trying to fix the decisions in the name of the coaching. It's not the coaching really, it's about mentoring, empirical thinking, right? So it's just not that, right? So if you do the behavioral coaching, it's, I don't call that as a, ICF is really looking for that. You're changing the behavior of somebody versus what Subash says, that going and finding out the deeper level of meaning of why somebody has that attitude and behaviors and the mindset and the mindfulness, well-beingness, right? Now, if you move a little further, teaching, it's about, I have to teach about the processes and technologies and all of that, right? how to think about complexities. So if you look at this quadrant, the right side of this quadrant is all about thinking process. And this side is about the, as we talked about in previously, is about the awareness. And if you look at the trust, the engagement, the dynamics, and the collective beliefs, it's again about the awareness. It's called the systemic awareness or facilitation. And that's where this awareness part comes into. And I believe, as Karan, you rightly said, so we can use these competencies across all the quadrants for sure. For sure, you can use all your competencies of the ICF coaching in all the quadrants, but you must know that what is that you are going to do when you are working with the IT quadrant, or when you are working with the ITS quadrant, or when you are working with the V quadrant. And that kind of awareness, and Subash, I will ask you to give a little bit more about the authentic self, right? So what is meaning of authentic self? So that he can use these competencies in the 4 different quadrants, and he knows that what he's doing. Yeah. So if you can talk about that, what is meaning of the authentic self?
The real self is the most authentic part of it. I think authentic self is more for us to remind and be aware, and in that consciousness that we operate, which is beyond the beliefs, values, and other things that kind of interfere. From a coaching perspective, I'll make it simpler. From a pure coaching perspective, where I'm able to be present, irrespective of the environment.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say that you can't coach in a coffee shop. I don't really agree with that. I don't subscribe to that. Can I be present even in the noisy coffee shop? It's also about listening selectively. Listen to the client, what the client is saying, not saying. Yeah, so those are all the authenticity that the coach can bring into the process of professional coaching. The ICF methodology that we speak of. And make it till you fake it is not something that a lot of us subscribe to, because you can't really fake authenticity. You can't fake being real, right, till you make it. No, it's either black and white. Either you're authentic or you're vulnerable, you're not. And why this becomes very critical to professional coaches. You can only coach from a state of real authentic self. Not with any paraphernalia. So it might sound simple, but simplicity is the strength also. So it helps. So that is one of the things that we discussed in the first session is that what are the qualities of a coach, or what are those muscles that we need to build on our journey to become a coach. Being really authentic to our real self, inner self, is one of them. I don't know if I try to answer part of it.
Absolutely. And absolutely, it just thrills me when you say this authentic part of it, right? So even if you look at these 4 quadrants, Subash, we always talk about that. If you are not authentic, you are doing coaching in the name of mentoring, actually. That's not the authenticity. So that means that inner awareness, that presence, that authentic self, knowing what am I doing? Am I doing mentoring or am I doing coaching? Am I doing complex thinking process or am I doing the systems awareness, right? So if you're not present, if you're not authentic to yourself, you will be able to make the mess out of whatever that you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And therefore that you are aware that you are doing mentoring. And therefore you can use those competencies very wisely. And that, as a part of our program, we talked about presence, right? We talked about the authentic self with the presencing, how you are present, moment by moment, showing your vulnerability, being the self, true self when you are interacting. But that helps the people to move forward. Very interestingly, I also found this definition called the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel. What is Agile Coaching? And these are the different competencies. And I found that, very interestingly, there is something called the coaching mindsets, and the coaching tools plus the techniques has been put together. So as if you want to talk about the coaching mindset and any relationship which we have with the ICF learning journey or being a professional coach.
Yeah. For me, some of us are discussing today about, what does it take to become a successful professional, including a professional coach or any other successful professional, whatever area we choose. So, what we're debating or discussing where that the mindset is so critical. So, a mindset of that professional in whatever area you are is very critical to become a successful professional. Success as defined by the professional. And in the case of coaching, I think it's far more important. You can't be a good coach or a great coach unless you have that mindset naturally with you, and you keep building that muscle over a period of time. So, if you ask me as a professional coach what I need to be focusing day in and day out, it is just about that coaching mindset. Once I keep sharpening that saw, I think other competencies will just get sharper, whether it is listening, presence, questioning, or evoking awareness, other ICF competencies. As for coaching tools and techniques, we do use a coaching model. The popular model is Grow. Then there are a lot of other variants. We also use some specific tools. We both use in our coaching engagement with the clients. We also use it to train our coaches so that they can use it in turn on their clients. So there's a Wheel of Life variant, which is called, we branded it as Regal at 60, and few other things. Yeah, so coaching brings together the coaching mindset, the coaching tools and techniques, and also the models and the ICF competencies. Because we are more aligned with the ICF framework, so the ICF coaching framework or the set of 8 competencies also comes into the play. So these are the 3-4 elements that make it pure professional coaching. And I'm also happy, Akhil, that the previous slide, that diagram, it speaks of professional coaching. Yeah, because we maintain that anyone who is not a trained, certified, credentialed, experienced coach is not a professional coach. They're just self-style coaches. Yeah. They're coaching on the assumed intuition, not real intuition.
And Subash, in this, something is missing. And that missing part, I think we have already discussed about, is that you individual, authentic self, when you're doing this coaching. And then working with the individuals, working with the teams, and working with the organizations, right?
Yes.
So definitely, you need to, as a coach, you're going to deal with the multiple things using these competencies. And that is very important. And that's what we bring it in our program, that how do you work with the self and the individual in the beginning. And then subsequently, you will start looking at how do you work with the teams and the organizations. Yeah.
Correct.
And to do this work, and Subash, I'd love to hear from you. These are the real core competency of a coach, right? To become an authentic self. We are not going to talk about all the 8 competencies, and there are some that have been modified. The presence, the ethics and the presence is so critical, so critical for you to be successful. And that's the first thing which we do, right? And if you want to create the sense and respond model of your work in the complexities where you live in, you can't do the listening at a narrow level. You need to go to deeply listen what's going on and what the client is saying and what the client is not saying, what the team is saying and not saying, what is the environment and the system is saying or not saying to you. And that's where we will deep dive into the narrow listening to deep listening. Now that people are saying that, okay, so I will prepare this questions, the list of the questions, like nothing but called the predict and the plan model, to powerful questioning. And powerful questioning is again the method of sense and respond, right? If you have not sense, you can't ask the question, isn't it? So you can't do the coaching of the list of the questions which has been prepared. We have seen it dime a dozen people talk about it. It's a very casual coaching. So we will talk about, we'll build that how to create the powerful questions. It is not narrations or which is the list which is coming, but how do you develop yourself, be authentic to create the powerful questions to help your clients, help your organization or help your teams. So anything you want to add?
Yeah, so for the benefit of the participants, this is some of the ICF core competencies that we dive deep into. There are a couple of more additional competencies like trust and intimacy. Now it is more of a trust intimacy word has been removed. There are also a whole lot of action competencies. And we spoke about awareness earlier. Awareness to action is also an integral part of professional coaching. If I just walk away with an awareness, very aha moment about a topic or a goal, a problem or an opportunity that I want to discuss as a client, then I'm just getting an intellectual high. But coaching demands that is translated to some action, which can create, whether it is new habits to new neuron pathways in the brain, and all the positive benefits thereof. So action are, there are a couple of more elements which are to this, but this is some of the foundations of core competencies. That's why we have it on the deck.
And those details are kept because you will learn when you start working with us and deeper going into that, right? And then we look at that, how do you develop it? When we start working with you, in the beginning we will talk about, so there are 5 levels of the Agile approach to developing the ICF competencies. And at the beginner level, what we will do is we will talk to you, we will make sure that you start demonstrating the ethical practices of the ICF competencies at a beginner level. When you start working with us, 3 months journey. At a practice level, you will start looking at, as a practitioner, you will become better at the listening, which is very, very much required to go to a deeper level of it. How to create or evoke the awareness of the people, and then as Subash talked about, that it had to be action, right? It has to be facilitate the client growth. It's not just about the awareness. So that's the practitioner level. When you as Agile coaches, when you join us and start learning, at a practitioner level, if you demonstrate these 3 competencies, you will be called as a practitioner. Now, if you go at the 3rd level, which we call it as a journey person, that means you have become very, very good at CC3, which is very critical part of our journey, right? Subash, if you want to talk about it, right? And making sure that you are able to create the awareness. So Subash, if you can talk about CC3 and why we call it a journey person.
So CC3, while this talks about agreement, the real purpose of CC3 is to set the goal of the session. And it also translates into some kind of an agreement decision to move. And it's going beyond a mere beginner or practitioner, but it actually, this is where the journey starts. Now, when we set the goal, why it makes the journey is that it's also going beyond the SMART parameters of the goal. It's about what makes it important for the client at an emotional level. Now, we use a simple phrase for that. What is the goal behind the goal? How is it linked to the overall persona of the client? It's just a simple example, the oft-repeated example with a lot of success stories from our community, coaches communities. I want to lose weight, somebody says. Losing weight means different things for different people. For each one of us, it means different here, right? So to that extent, understanding the goal is to lose weight with all the smart parameters, but what is behind that makes it the journey. And as Brian Tracy says, it's not about reaching the goal, it's about what you become when you reach that goal, which becomes the journey. Even in one of the great teachers from India, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Vivekananda's guru, he also said, the journey is far more beautiful than reaching the destination, from a very spiritual space. So to that extent, it becomes very important that we know where we are headed to. There's this popular book, earlier during my college days, Begin with the End, something like that. So do I know where I'm heading to? More often we don't know. We don't take the effort to identify the goal, right? And link it to your purpose or your life or something deeper. So these are all elements of professional coaching, which is what makes professional coaching very holistic. Yeah.
And then if you wanted to create a craftsman in your professional coaching world, wherein we'll talk about that CC6, which is listening actively, and all the ICF core competencies which we talked about so far. So if you want to become the craftsman, how to make use of all the 8 competencies, right? But definitely become a deeper listener for the people to create. And the last one, if you want to become an innovator and want to talk, and Suhas, you can talk about MCCs are all innovators in the guide, right? So nothing but just the practice and the play and the practice and the play. Use all these 8 competencies to become the guide on an innovator. You can innovate in your coaching practices, right? Or you can innovate that how can help your client to grow in his journey. Suhas?
Yes, it is going beyond, so ICF keeps talking about become a coach. That's the phrase that they popularize. The way we interpret it is about learning the science and the process of coaching. The real craft that stage 4 is where, it becomes deeper at an artistic level on a very strong foundation of the science and the process. But, the 5th level is mastery beyond the art, science and process. It's all there. It comes naturally, but that is true mastery. It's more of a play. You're dancing in the moment with the client, or it's a jugal bandi, as we say it in Hindi. So to that extent, it becomes very effortless. That is a state of being. Yeah, and it's all achievable. Absolutely. Yes.
So this is what brings to the end of our presentations, and we are open to listen to all your questions, participants.
So you can just type in, or if you can raise the hand, we can unmute, quickly and from there. Yeah, go ahead, Karan.
Yeah, hi, Subash and Akhil. So my question is on the professional front, right? Agile as a fraternity, they are into a lot of certifications. They keep doing courses and keep adding value. I think even to become an agile coach, you have, I think, some ICP, if I'm not wrong, some certifications which actually tag you as a coach, agile coach. Now, if I'm on the cusp of this journey, why should I add another certificate from ICF? What more can be added to that agile coaching competencies which you talked about, right? So my understanding from the presentation is it is only the I part which might be missing. Is it that or anything else as well?
Karan, you're partially right, and partially I need to provide some context out there, right? So if you look at the IC Agile, actually they take time for you to go through all this, that cross sign which you have put together, the competency, right? And in the name of the professional coaching, which is only the ICF has the professional coaching competencies built in. So even the IC Agile guys talks about getting the professional coaching. Now, very interestingly, just to give you a context, that organizations across the globe, and especially I'm working with some of the organizations in Europe and India, they ask for the Agile coaches with the ICF certification. That is because the organizations have started understanding that though their competency has been defined by the Agile Coaching Institute, but the professional coaching is not happening. And I can vouch that I have done in the last 6-7 years. I have trained so many Agile coaches on the ICF competencies, and when they come to the program, they say that I was not doing the real coaching. I was doing really the training, or the better, some kind of a mentoring, but not doing the facilitation and not doing the real professional coaching, right? So to give you the sense that the other certifications provide you the width of what exactly the ICF, what the Agile coach competencies are on what that means too. But if you want to dive deeper, and I want to create the value for your customer, value for your clients, then you need to start looking at the competency called the professional coaching in a different manner altogether. And that's the reason why organizations, at least in Europe and India, wherever I have gone, they have asked for the ICF certifications. I don't know whether I have helped you, Karan, to answer.
Definitely. It definitely answers the question that, most of the time we think that we are doing coaching, but we as agile professionals, we are trained probably by the nature of the industry to tell more, to instruct more, and to solicit, instead of soliciting advice or suggestions, we give more than we receive, right? That's a very valid point. I completely agree to that. My next question, follow-up question. So I understand that there is a market for it, right? Organizations are seeking professional coaches with Agile, right? Leaving aside the professional part, right? As a coach, if I onboard this journey, what personal change or value I will add to my personality, to my persona, right? Any success stories, any case studies where, apart from the professional stuff, personally we have, at least as a being, I have evolved as an Agile coach, as a profession, and also as a person.
So I want to take a little different route to answer this question. And so, as if you can add a little more further. See, the Agile coaching is in demand, right? But they charge very little compared to the ICF certified PCC or MCC coaches or ACC coaches, yeah. But they are not getting the enough business. Now, when you combine these two together, the first of all, your monetary benefits is very different, because they see you can create the value, and then people are looking for the Agile coaches. I mean, across the globe, I don't know how many, but India, we have the ICF certified coaches, PCC level, I think some 450 plus coaches to us. Yeah. But if you look at the Agile coaches certified in our own country, India, it's 65,000. Yeah. So these 65,000, to create the more valuable, if they start picking up this, their value increases. Now, I want to give my own personal journey about what I did as a PCC coach. When I left, I did my PCC first and then started using the PCC journey into the Agile world and whatnot, because of my experience in the IT. I was a completely head guy. Now I'm no more a head guy. I have developed the habit of moving from the predict and the plan, which is what I have been trained as a manager. I would not call it a leader, right? Versus the sense and respond. So my whole shift of being had changed. I found that after going through the PCC program, and Subash can vouch for it, he has seen me since 2013, I think since 2013 or 14, I don't remember, that how much I have changed internally, right? Now there is one personal anecdote. My father said one day that nowadays you listen quite a lot, right? And therefore he loves to talk to me. That's what he told me. So that's another personal level of the changes. Now there are various benefits which I can give from my side, but there was one guy who went through our program. He said, and this is a recent Agile Coach program which we are doing, he said, Akhil, the way I have been looking at my life and the organization has changed. And this has been noticed by many in my organization. Yeah. So there are number of benefits and number of personal improvements, and the journey has been seen.
Okay, so a couple of things I would like to add here. First of all, who am I? I'm a ICF-ACC, got certified through Subash, Regal, and also I am a certified Scrum trainer, if you know what that is. Looks like I just came back as a panelist.
Yes, please. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Come on video also now. Sorry.
Yes, I am. Okay, so I'm a certified Scrum trainer from Scrum Alliance, and also I teach advanced CSM, advanced CSM, CSPSM, Cal-E, Cal-T, Cal-O classes to set you the context. Okay, so just giving a little bit of more my insights into it. First of all, Karan, you asked about the certification. Certification doesn't tell anybody that you know it. It's more about you attended a class and you got a certification. That's what it means. So a couple of examples. There are way too many certified Scrum Masters, but doesn't have enough knowledge about Scrum. So there are more than 2 lakh Scrum Masters in India certified, but not everybody is good. There are probably way too many PMPs, not that everybody is a good project manager. So certification doesn't tell you because of the way the certification is achieved. So going back to what Subash said earlier, the journey is beautiful. So if you look at the ICP-ACC, it is a 3-day class, and how much mindset will you change in 3 days? So after ICP-ACC, you get probably some knowledge, and probably a lot of ICP-ACC certified people don't really understand what is a true coaching is. But the journey of ICF certification is long. It's probably 6 months to 1 year. You have to do 100 sessions, coaching sessions, and few recordings. And you have a cohort group where you are piggyback between the people, other coaches, learn from each other. That journey itself is actually condition you very well to be a good person, as a evolved person. I would say you are probably better awareness for yourself. So I'm an example for myself. I'm a lot more calmer. Whenever I teach classes, also I'm very calm because I'm listening, not telling most of the time. And just imagine in your day-to-day life, if you start listening carefully and if you're asking the right question at the right time, how better things would be. And if you can master that, what else do you want as a person? Your life will be better at personal level, at home, with friends, not only at the profession, right? Profession is automatically, if you are that kind of person, you can deal with any kind of things, right? So you are dancing in the moment. Coach does not have any expectations to present. That means you are ready to deal with any type of coachee and you're dancing in the moment. That means I can give you an example. If I'm talking to a CEO of a company, I don't get tense because I know how to ask questions. So I just put the ball back in their court and let them dance. So you are basically calm, you're listening, you're asking, right? That is what you're doing. That actually makes wonders to your own life. And you can deal with the complex world a lot better, which is what agility is all about. So I think I have students from Advanced CSM and CSPSM who actually gone all the journey in Scrum Master journey, become an Agile Coach candidates. But then they do ICF coaching, which actually deepens their knowledge and make them better and understand, apply all that Agile knowledge in the real world with the core competency of coaching. And so I would say ICF coaching is a core competency as such to be a better person, and it conditions you to be a good coach. And then you can use all the other knowledge you gain through other certifications better. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Maybe it's a long answer, more than a couple of points, I guess.
It was a definite value add. Thanks for that, Ananda. Very beautifully summed up. Thank you, Akhilesh, and thank you, Subash, as well, for answering.
Anyone else have any question before we move on to the next?
We're also at the top of the hour, so if there are no questions, we can wrap up. Not to try to punctuate. We try to start and end all our sessions, cause everything on time.
Strict time boxing.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today and having a session. And thank you so much, Nanda, to provide your perspective and how Agile competencies which you have learned can be really make use of using the ICF core competencies learning in this channel.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
There seem to be no questions, so I think we'll say goodbye for the day or evening, and then we stay connected. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Nanda. Bye.